you all know about the Steam Deck, right? You know about the handheld market that's coming out, and of course, Steam has just released Steam OS commercially. So now you already have Lenovo's.
When did they release Steam OS?
About a week ago. Steam OS is now available for all handhelds. If you have a handheld, they can do a quick update for it, or you can just they'll update it.
That's a really big deal. Like a lot of people might not realize, but Steam OS being released, that's a fucking major deal. Yeah.
Yeah, Steam OS is brilliant. It is absolutely. By the way, it's what made the Steam Deck so good. The Steam Deck under the hood is basically the same as like the ROG Ally. Actually, the ROG Ally and them are better, but because ROG Ally runs on Windows 11, it can't do what the Steam Deck does because the Steam OS is just that's so much more efficient.
That's one of the things that I always try to talk to people about whenever it comes to, and this is why this is such a big deal for me, whenever it comes to talking about, and by the way, is SteamOS free or do you have to buy it?
It comes with whatever. So Lenovo has a new handout that's coming out and it's launching with the Steam OS.
But it's like, I'm talking about, I want to put SteamOS on a PC, like right now. Have no Windows, just SteamOS.
So it's not yet available on PC.
So it's available not. So it's not as big of a deal as I thought. Okay, because you were scaring me there. Because let me tell you why this is important. So the reason why this is important is because a lot of times you have people having these discussions, and I've stopped engaging in them because I genuinely believe that a lot of people are just doing this either. One of two cases is happening. They're acting in bad faith, or they actually have no fucking idea what they're talking about. But it genuinely upsets me whenever people start saying like, oh, I can make a $700 PC that'll beat the shit out of a PlayStation 5. And it's like, no. And it's like, unless your country has like fucking crashing economy and you can buy these GPUs on the dirt cheap, or you're buying used GPUs.
Or you're buying it. Those that
or you're fucking stealing them.
They fell off the truck.
So it's like if you for some reason you have these unbelievable prices available to you, sure. If you're buying used parts, sure. And if you're fucking outright stealing them, sure. If you're buying it on the retail market, no. I don't agree with that. Not a million times over. You can make something close to it. I don't agree with the concept that you can do, because like a lot of people are like, well, yeah, but I don't buy a Windows license. Like, well, that's $100 that you're saving. Oh yeah, but I don't buy a controller. It's like, okay, well, that's more money that you're saving. So there's a bunch of arguments there that you can kind of like go back and forth. I generally don't like that argument, but one of the reasonings is also people don't account for Windows tax. What is Windows tax? You're running Windows. Windows is a very inefficient operating system for managing resources. This is why usually you can't just go hardware to hardware and just be like, oh yeah, these are the specs of the PlayStation 5. These are the specs of my computer. It's the same thing. I'm going to get the same performance. And a lot of that stuff comes because, like I said, because of Windows, which if you then have SteamOS, that will likely bypass a lot of those inefficiencies, and that might actually make those scenarios that people argue for much more plausible.
So
occurring.
There are already Linux-based systems that run SteamOS.
That just run
PC.
SteamOS,
yeah. And there's rumors that Gabe and Valve, this is their first pronged approach. So they're releasing it to all handhelds, can now run on SteamOS. Lenovo has already announced that their new handheld that was going to run on Windows 11 is actually going to be coming out with SteamOS already installed. ROG has announced that they might be switching over as well. So soon, all handhelds will most likely run on SteamOS. And for those of you that don't quite know why, use the ROG Ally. It has better specs than the Steam Deck, but the Steam Deck still outperforms on a lot of cases because Windows 11, even for handheld, is so incredibly unoptimized that most of the resources are just eaten by the OS to try and keep this monstrosity running. Where SteamOS is a lot more lean, and it's mostly because it's designed for gaming. It's not designed for wasting time on anything else. And now the rumors are suggesting that Steam is eventually going, or Valve is eventually going to launch SteamOS for PC. They're just, in order to launch it for PC, there's still a lot more that needs to be added to it. So they have to make sure that there is all of the comfort programs and stuff that we would use on PC is available on the SteamOS, so that
like
if it comes out,
you're going to need a web browser, you're going to need Discord, you're going to need that type of stuff. And not to mention that they need to really tune it in a way that is able to utilize the hardware properly, because Windows is doing a lot of that work for them right now. So yeah, it requires quite a bit of optimization. But yes, I would love to see that. Like, here's the thing. A lot of people that play on PC don't realize that underneath the hood in Steam right now, you have a full-fledged console interface. Like, a lot of people don't even know about this, but you can literally plug in a controller and you just like hit the home button on your controller twice. Boom, you're in Steam Big Picture mode. And Big Picture mode is essentially like an Xbox interface or a PlayStation interface, and you can access everything with your controller, and it just works great. Like, I've been using this for my kid, by the way. Like, I have this this old laptop that I have, and I've been teaching my kid, like, listen, you open up the laptop, you launch Steam, and then you just do the Big Picture mode, and then you have all of the games here, because he's had a Switch, and so he understands intuitively how to navigate like a console type interface. And so I give him that, and he can boot up the computer on his own and just start playing games on Steam like it's a console. So my kid is already doing this. And then to top it off, another really big advantage, and this is something that I wasn't even aware of until recently. So I've told you multiple times, I don't like the cloud, right? I don't like cloud gaming. I think it's not a good thing, because at any point in time, you can lose your internet. There's all of these disadvantages to it. And if the servers are down, you can't play your video games. Fucking sucks, right? Now, I have played streaming games from my PlayStation 5, because there's PlayStation Remote, and you can just like access that, and you can play anything on your phone, but it's actually streaming from your PlayStation 5.
From your PlayStation.
And so this year, before New Year's Eve, I was, because I've been so brutally addicted to Path of Exile 2, I was thinking to myself, man, wouldn't it be cool if I could do that from Steam? And then I reminded myself, wait, I have streamed from Steam, but I never did it to my phone. I streamed from Steam to other computers, so like I would have an underpowered computer that I was using at the time, and I would stream from my more powerful computer, because you can do that with Steam like natively right now. If you just have Steam installed on two computers, you can just be like, okay, I want this computer to run this game using the hardware of that computer, and it does it. And I was like, have they maybe come up with something for the phone? And it's probably been available for years, and I didn't even know about it. But there's this thing called Steam Link. Wow. You put that on your phone, you pair a controller with your phone, and it will, like, it is so fucking seamless and flawless. You have no idea, dude. And by the way, as somebody who has experienced this before with PlayStation, bro, the Steam version is so much better. It is not even like, listen, it's not even in the same league. Okay. And this is somebody that, like, I've used this extensively, because like I've done PS Remote multiple times, fun technology, cool stuff. But like, for instance, if I'm trying to play something like a Monster Hunter that is very demanding in terms of input latency and stuff like that, it gets hard. It gets very hard to get your inputs right and all of that stuff, right? Bro, I was playing Path of Exile. I couldn't even feel the input lag almost at all. And this is just like, I was able to do it even off of like just 5G network, not even Wi-Fi, off of fucking 5G, bro. I was like, that's crazy. Dude, how do they do this level of they because I feel like nobody's even talked about it or something, or maybe I've been living under a rock. I was like, I install Steam Link. The pairing process is the easiest thing in my life. It literally generates a code on your phone, a four-number code. You go into Steam and just like, yep, pair, boom, here's the code, boom, instant, done. And then it's like, okay, this phone is now synced with this computer. You just leave the computer on and you're good. And the thing is, not only you have access to Steam, it's a fully featured remote desktop. So like, I will have Steam, and then I can turn off the computer remotely when I was like, bro, what the fuck, bro? What is going on right now, dude? What is Valve doing? Like, again, I know that a lot of people might listen to this like, bro, I've been doing Steam Link for like the past 3 years. Fuck is wrong with you, bro? Where have you been?
It's possible.
But I was like, bro, this is crazy. Like it was fantastic. I loved it. I was just like chilling. I'm like, I think I need to buy like a backbone or whatever, which is the thing that you put on your phone, kind of works like Joy-Cons almost. Yeah. I'm like, I want to get one of those because then I can just like, I turn on my computer, Steam's on, and I can just play my Steam games anywhere so long as you have internet. It is crazy. Yeah.
I think the one thing that people need to understand is in the same vein as Tesla is the dominant electric vehicle, not because of the technology in the Tesla. BMW's electric vehicles are technologically the same and sometimes even more advanced. What makes Tesla the number one is their software. They are so many years ahead of anyone else in terms of the type of software that they run that it makes it the premier electric vehicle. The same is true for Valve. Valve on the surface is just, you see it and you think, wow, this is just the game, this is just the storefront.
Yeah, it's just a storefront.
But when you actually jump into it, the amount of technology that is built into Valve, into Steam, is nuts. This company they are decades ahead of anyone else in the space. And this is where Steam OS comes in. It is the best OS. I mean, Linus Tech Tips had an entire video on Steam OS showcasing just how phenomenally ahead this is to anything Windows has to offer. And I would argue probably anything PlayStation has to offer as well in terms of operating systems. Because they understand this stuff, and Valve, if you go into how they hire, they don't do DEI hiring. If you want to work at Valve, here's something that I only found out last week because there's a new surge in the media complaining about Valve being too white. You cannot work for Valve if you have not proven yourself in the industry to be phenomenal.
You
have to be a phenomenal developer.
I have to say this just because it is very frustrating. But imagine what it's like for the people working at Valve when you hear something like Valve is too white. It's like, well, what the fuck do you mean?
Yeah.
It's like, imagine what it feels like for the people working there. And now let's flip the script. Let's say there's a company that only employs black people, and all of a sudden the media would say that company's too black.
It's like, dude, that is very racist. But also, it makes sense. Valve is a Western company based in America. Most of the people it hires will be from the West. And Valve has no internship program. So you can't, as a new developer, go work there. Valve has no mentorship program. They don't mentor shit. If you want to get a job at Valve, you need to build up a resume in the industry, prove that you're phenomenal at your job, and then you can apply. And Gabe actually said this in an interview. He thinks in the entire world, there might be about 800 people that could potentially work at Valve, that would be good enough to work at Valve.
Damn.
That's how strict they are in who they hire. So this company really does a brilliant job. But now let's get to the actual topic. I've been thinking about this for a while. What makes console the premier gaming experience for console gamers? Why do console people not want to get a PC? Yeah, it's the fact that you buy the thing and now you just have the thing and it works. You want to play a game, you install the game, you play the game. Done. There's no questions. The controller was built specifically to pair with this particular console. You can just play, right?
Yeah.
PC isn't like that. And people like myself who love PC, we like the fiddly nature of it. I like fiddling with my PC. I like doing this thing and trying to do this and get a little bit more performance here. But it's because I'm an enthusiast. I like this. I would not like the PlayStation because I don't like the plug-and-play nature of it. So PC can never really compete with console on that front. But handhelds are not just handhelds. In case you guys haven't noticed, if you get a Steam Deck or even the ROG Ally, it has literal ports for mouse and keyboard. It can also plug into a normal monitor or TV, and then it becomes a portable PC.
Yeah.
I've watched people on there do Word documents and all manner of shit, right? Like work on it because it is a very powerful little PC. What's the point of a console when you can buy a handheld? Because remember, it also just works. The convenience of it is once you have it, it just works.
The thing is, like we're saying, is like once you have that Steam OS on there with the few apps that people need for a PC, like we're talking about like a browser, some Discord and one or two more things that people might want out of a PC.
Yeah.
Then yeah, sure. But it needs to all be built into Steam OS. It can't be something as fiddly as Windows, because that will be like, oh man, now I have to update my drivers and I have to blah, blah, blah. And people don't want to deal with the hassle of that. Yeah.
No, you can imagine the second that little Steam Deck or the ROG Allies and those ones come out with compatibility with controllers, for example. So you can have whatever controller you want. And it comes out with compatibility for like Joy-Con things. There's no more need for you to go and buy a PlayStation, because you can buy the Steam Deck or the ROG Ally and you get all the convenience of what a console does, and then all of the power that a PC gives you, because PCs can do things that consoles just cannot, whereas these things can.
I don't know if Valve is going to kill the console market or not. I have kind of like gotten myself to a point where the PC is what makes the most sense for me, because I've noticed that, PlayStation and obviously Microsoft, they don't really care about physical media, which is one of the things that I cared about a lot. Probably one of the main reasons why I did it. The console stuff. It was the convenience and also physical media, because I love physical media. I'm an old boomer. It is what it is. And there's just, a lot of games coming out nowadays that all require like internet connection and patches and all of this stuff to even properly function. Some games come out on disc straight up broken, like you can't even finish the game because of problems. And I know that people, whenever I bring this up in the show, a lot of people are like, no, Rakan, there's still plenty of physical media that does work. And it's like, yeah, but the amount of research that I have to do to figure out whether or not is this thing on the disc, is this thing not on the disc, does this particular game that comes with an expansion, is an expansion a digital code, or is it an actual fucking video game? You have to spend hours figuring out what's going to be inside the box and whether or not it's going to work without an internet connection. And that's why I don't like it anymore, because it loses that convenience aspect. Now, if you're a super enthusiast, I'm sure that you'll be happy to like go to, what is his name? There's a Twitter account that manages a database called Does It Play or something like that, which is like they tell you whether or not something plays out of the box, what are the problems that the boxed version of the game has because it doesn't have the patch. And it's like, listen, the point is, there used to be a time where you'd buy a boxed game and it's like, this is the game. No matter what happens, servers explode, consoles die. If I have my console and I have my game, I can play the game. And nowadays, that is becoming more and more uncertain. And the more and more we head towards that being an uncertain, the more I'm like, bro, I'll just buy the shit on Steam. It's dirt cheap, and I don't have to worry about it, because if I'm going to need a fucking internet connection anyway, then fuck it. And this way I'll get better performance and all of that stuff, and I work on these machines anyway. So that's kind of like where I'm at when it comes to consoles. Now, I do think that there is one console that you haven't talked about that is still going to bring in waves, and that's going to be the next Nintendo Switch. Because Nintendo I just has a ton of IP, and they're not willing to share it. They're like, no.
But that's the thing.
You don't get our IP.
Nintendo is going to continue to dominate purely because they have been so protective of their ecosystem.
Yep.
That you have to go into the Nintendo ecosystem.
You want to play Mario? You want to play Zelda? You got to go to Nintendo. That's all you get.
Yeah. So I do think their handheld is still going to exist, right? And they're going to do their thing. But I do see, because guys, just to put this into perspective, Valve has already eaten Microsoft's lunch on PC. no one uses the Microsoft Store to buy their video games. Even though the Microsoft Store comes installed standard with Windows, no one buys their games through the Microsoft Store. You immediately install Steam and you buy everything through Steam, right? From an ease of use perspective, there's no difference. In fact, one might argue the Microsoft Store is easier to use because it's on the PC already. But I don't get the ecosystem that Steam comes with, where all my friends are there, all my games are in the same place. And like you just said, Steam is so easy to use. The other day, I wanted my brother to try a game. I wanted to see if he liked it. It's so
Family
easy
sharing.
to just add him to family share, and bam, he's playing the game. I'm currently playing different games, so I don't even care. And it's just so much cooler.
Yeah.
So
like
when this comes out,
to give you an idea, sharing on Nintendo, for instance, doesn't work like that at all. So my kid has a Switch, I have a Switch, and if my kid is trying to use my account to play some of the digital games that I have on there, I can't be logged on at the same time. Even if it's a different game.
Yeah,
so like if he's playing, I don't know, Zelda something, and I'm trying to play Monster Hunter, he can't play because I'm logged in. And so I have to let me put the Switch in the airplane mode, and then I can play offline, and then he will be able to go and log in and play. So it's like, even in Nintendo, it's kind of weird doing the sharing thing.
Yeah,
and in Steam, it's much more seamless,
Steam really is that company that makes billions by not being greedy.
By not being dicks.
By just giving people what they want. And yes, I realize in talking about this, there's the whole CoffeeZilla stuff with the stores and the gambling and the skin gambling.
There's some unethical shit going on with the Counter-Strike stuff.
Yes,
obviously.
100%. I'm fully aware of that. But I cannot take away from the fact that this is a company that has time and time again done the pro-consumer thing. Time and time again, we as consumers get the best value for money. And I just want to say, on the whole physical media thing, it should not be lost on console gamers that the last, I believe, 2 generations of consoles, I don't know if the PlayStation did it, but I know Xbox did it, where they had the smaller version that didn't even come with a disc drive, so everything was digital.
Oh, yeah.
Right? The fact that they're doing that...
Not the last 2. I think that the PlayStation 3 always had discs.
I think PlayStation 3 would have. PlayStation 4,
I think all of the
it.
models of PlayStation 3 had discs, but PlayStation 4 did have a discless version.
Yeah, they had the slim version of something that didn't have a disc.
Yeah, and now they have a slim version of
that doesn't have discs either. And Microsoft has the same one on the Xbox that also doesn't. The fact that exists should tell you everything you need to know. Yeah. That is the future. They're getting you ready. By the way,
since you don't know that much about it, the Pro version, if I'm not mistaken, by default, it is the discless version. Like, you have to buy the disc drive upgrade for the PlayStation Pro, which is one of the reasons why when the PlayStation Pro was announced and they said, if you want the drive, you have to buy it, the scalpers just bought the whole thing. They bought every fucking drive that was available, and then they, of course, sold it at a markup. So, like, even the moment they announced the Pro, it was just like instantly people were running. They're like, "Oh man, I need a disc drive! I need a disc drive now!"
Yeah,
everybody was buying the disc drive for the Pro. Yeah,
the future is
digital. Yeah, and again, that was another sign for me that it's like, if we're going to go digital, I'd rather do it on PC. It's like, fuck this shit.
And I realized that for people like Rurikon, I, for example, embraced the digital revolution a long time ago. I'm very happy. And there's a reason for it. As much as it's cool to have your game box over here, right? So, for example, this. As much as that's cool, and it's cool to have all of this, what I love about the digital version is the ease of use.
Yeah.
It's right there. I go on Steam, click install, done. It updates everything. Literally by the time it's installed, it's ready. It's not like getting my disc out. I don't have a disc drive in my PC. But when I used to have a disc drive in my PC, you pop in the disc, you install it. Then once it's done installing, now it has to update from the internet. It's a massive it's just not fun.
Yeah.
So I like the digital version, and you have to understand, maybe not PlayStation 6, but maybe PlayStation 7, PlayStation 8. At some point, there's going to be a PlayStation that just doesn't even have a disc drive. If you want to play it, you have to play it digitally. And for those of you that's wondering, but what about the games that I already have? They'll probably have some kind of library system where if it's on your account, they'll just automatically add it to the library.
No, they won't. No, if people are wondering about the games they have, you're fucked in the next console cycle. That's the games you have. You're fucked. It's that, like, I don't know if the PlayStation 6 is going to be the one that's going to get rid of disk drives. It might. Mm-hmm. But I'll tell you right now, if they do get rid of disk drives, there's not going to be a magical, because I used to be under this idea. It's like, oh yeah, there's going to be a magical system that I'm going to like do something with my discs, and they're somehow going to magically. No, the magical system is you're going to give them more of your fucking money to buy the game that you already own. That's the system. That's what they've shown time and time again, that's what they want to do. Like,
it's very possible.
When they inevitably remove the disc drives off of consoles, your games aren't going to go forward with you. They're fucking gone. No. I think that Xbox does something where, actually, I don't even know how they do it, to be honest. I don't know.
So Xbox, it's all up to the company.
Yeah.
So, for example, CD Projekt Red did this with Witcher 3, where they just automatically updated it with an Xbox patch.
But that's a digital version. Or if you have the disc version, sure. But it's like, what happens when the console doesn't have a disc drive and the only proof that you have that you own the game is that disc? You're fucked. Like that's it.
Yeah.
That's just it. And it's like, the discs will work on your older consoles. Yeah, sure. So long as you maintain that console, yeah, fine. But like moving forward, no, they're gone. It's over. You don't own them anymore.
That is,
in the newer console. I would say that's the thing.
That is, again, the beautiful thing about Steam.
Yeah.
If you open your Steam, left-hand corner, there's an add game, and you can actually add games from the CD key. As long as you have the CD key, and it adds to your library, and then it's there. And what's nice about Steam is, even if you upgrade your PC, buy a new PC, as soon as you log into your account,
the games are still there.
All of your games are there. So digital is the future. It's sad because I do think I would have preferred if there was a world where everyone could continue to exist. Yeah.
It's because likely not going to happen. And by the way,
I know that this is part of gaming history.
I know that people are gonna, again, I know that this is gonna happen because it always happens. It's like, oh, they're actually physical, still well and good. And it's like, listen, brother, I hope it remains that way. I want you to understand, I'm not against it. Quite the opposite. I hope it stays that way. I hope it lasts forever.
Yeah,
but I don't think it will. That's all I'm saying, okay? I'm rooting for you, dude. I am rooting for you, but fundamentally, for me, it's like I'm out. I'm out of it, okay? Like, I'm sorry.
The winds of change. Yeah, if I read the winds of change, it's clear where it's going.
Even as a content creator, let me tell you something. As a content creator, getting keys, keys from developers and for early access, even not just early access, just like getting keys. The console version, getting the key for a console is always harder, okay? In case you guys are ever wondering, it is always harder. And let me tell you, the hierarchy is, the hardest one is Switch. That's the hardest codes to get. Those are the hardest ones, okay? The next one is Xbox codes, because quite simply, a lot of these marketing public companies that do PR and stuff, they don't even care about Xbox. They're just like, oh, you want a PlayStation code? Yeah, we'll get you a PlayStation code. So like, the hardest one is Switch, because those are the ones that they usually have the least amount of codes. The second one is Xbox. The third one is PlayStation, and Steam is by far the easiest one, okay, to get codes from. Epic, they'll straight throw those in your face. You want an Epic code? Take 10, brother.
Please take the Epic one. Please take. No, you can have the Steam one too, but also take the Epic one.
But like, yeah, from the platforms that most people use, Steam is by far the easiest one for content creators to get codes from developers. Like, and it's not even. And the other thing is, because of the way that things work with consoles, there's regions. So that's the other thing. So like, for instance, for me to get certain codes on PlayStation, because what ends up happening is, because of the way that regions work, I live in Portugal. And so because I live in Portugal, a lot of companies in the US don't want to work with me, even though 90% of my audience, well, not 90%, it's a little bit less, but a large majority of my audience is from the US. But US companies are like, but you live in Portugal, so you need to deal with our regional European branch. And I'll go like, okay, let's go to the European branch. And they're like, but you make content in English, so we don't want you either. And you're just like, what the fuck? So you're stuck in this position where it's like the US doesn't want you, the fucking Spain doesn't want me either. The Portuguese don't want me because I'm making English videos, and then the Spanish don't want me because they hate Portugal. And it's like, brother, what am I gonna do? So it's like, because of the way the regional works, if you want to have like certain codes for PlayStation, you'll need to have like a US account so that you can get the codes for the US, and then you'll need a European account to get the codes from you. And Steam is just like, nope, there's one code for everything. There's no regions, no borders. Fuck all that. It's like, here's your Steam code, works everywhere. It's like, dude, it's just, again, it's just so much.
And it works every time. And this is why I think Sony and Microsoft might not know this yet, but they will very quickly just become game publishers. When the handheld market picks up, and we're already seeing it, right? It used to be the Nintendo Switch, then came Steam Deck, and now there's a bunch
of them, Yeah,
you have ROG Ally, you have Lenovo coming out, MSI announced that they want to do one. So there's the handheld market is very quickly going to become flooded.
Yeah.
And this is going to mean that your console dudes are going to have to compete with, and most of them, all of them are going to go SteamOS. All of them. I guarantee you, none of them are going to hoodwink themselves with Windows, because SteamOS is probably going to be cheaper and it's going to be far easier to operate. And here's the big problem. You buy a handheld with SteamOS, you guaranteed have hundreds of millions of games more than what you will have on your PlayStation or your Xbox. Guaranteed.
Yep.
Because all games,
especially if they switch architecture, which we don't know if they will or not in the next console cycle, but that's always been kind of like a thing, right? Because you switch architecture from PlayStation 2 to PlayStation 3, and then only the fat PlayStation 3 was actually able to play PlayStation 2 games, and then the next models were not able to play PlayStation 2. The PlayStation 3 games have never even came back, which fucking sucks, because I have a bunch of PlayStation 3 games that I want to play on PS4. Never able to do that. Even the PlayStation 5 doesn't support PlayStation 3 games, which was something that was theorized for a while. They're like, oh my god, they're gonna do the thing. They're gonna unify. It's gonna bring all the PlayStation games, and it's like it didn't happen, which friggin' sucked. No. Like I do want people to understand, because people tend to get very territorial about this. If you follow stuff on Twitter in regards to like console wars, it's insane to me. Like,
of course.
Because like, listen, I am a PlayStation fan. Straight up, it is what it is. I like PlayStation games. I like the PlayStation, console. I like the PlayStation controllers. I'm a PlayStation fan. I'm a Switch fan. The one console that I didn't play that much is the Xbox, but that's mostly because the one game that I wanted to get started on there, it was canceled. It was Scalebound. That was going to be my entry into Xbox. Was going to be Scalebound, and that got canceled. And I was like, well, fuck. So it's like, I'm a fan of
everything you can play on the Xbox. You can play on PC. So who gives a shit?
So it's like, I'm a fan of all consoles. And the thing that I always say whenever it comes to games coming out, I've never once said, oh, I'm so happy that this game only plays on PlayStation. Fuck everybody else. I've never said this. I'm the opposite. I'm like, bro, I wish this game would come out everywhere. Like Bloodborne, I wish everybody could enjoy Bloodborne. Put it on Xbox. Put it on the fucking Switch. Put it on PC. Yeah. Put it everywhere. Because it's an amazing game. I just want people to play it. That's the thing. Yeah. Like Shadow of the Colossus. I want more people to play Shadow of the Colossus. Hell yeah. I want everybody to enjoy these games. That's the vibe that I've always had. And so before people start coming out, oh, goddamn PC, you hate this platform, I don't hate any platform, brother. If you're playing video games, I love you, unless you're playing them on your phone. That's disgusting, sir. And
phone games
you need to have a coming
count.
to Jesus moment, okay?
Yep.
Listen, unless you're using Steam Link or PlayStation Remote to play games on your phone that way, that's okay. This is the way God intended, okay? You're allowed to play those. But like fucking traditional, no, bro, no, okay? So if you're PlayStation guy, Xbox guy, Switch guy, I fucking love you, okay? If you're a PC guy, love you. If you're a phone guy, get the fuck out of my way, bro. I don't have time for you, okay? Sorry.
No, but I absolutely agree with you, and I think the proof here that most likely the handheld market is going to replace the console market is just most people, even now, are starting to refer to it not as handhelds, but as portable PCs. Because all of the handhelds have the same thing. They can plug into a TV, they can plug in a mouse and a keyboard, they can operate with external controllers if you have that, or if you want that. So fundamentally, there is a point where you ask, at what point does a console become redundant? Because PC will never become redundant, purely because there's people like me that love the finicky nature of it, right? And the easier you make it, the less I want it, because I want the thing that gives me headaches.
Yeah,
because sometimes it just doesn't want to work.
It's
and
funny
you have to fiddle with it.
I always bring this up, and people are probably sick and tired of listening to me talk about it. But like, the best operating system I've ever used was OS X Snow Leopard, which was this Macintosh operating system. It was, to me, it was the peak of the OS operating system because it was super fast. It was super well optimized. It had just the amount of complexity that I needed for all of the things that I wanted to do. It was perfect. And it was super scalable too. Like that particular operating system was ready to take advantage of up to 1 terabyte of RAM, which we haven't even gotten there yet. So it's like, it was ready. Like that system was already ready back then to be able to take advantage of all of that and have all of these resources and be super powerful. And the next iteration that they did of that operating system, because they wanted to move more in the direction of, let's make it more user-friendly, like an iPad, destroyed everything. It was slower. It was clunkier. It wasn't that snappy. A lot of the features that Snow Leopard had weren't there. It was like, bro, what the fuck did you do? You just ruined this because you wanted to make it like a fucking iPad? Bro, you guys are idiots. Like, what the fuck did you do? That change alone alienated me from Macs. Because I used to be a staunch Mac advocate. I was like, bro, Macs are gonna take over. We're gonna beat PCs. Like I was in the trenches of the Mac versus PC wars back in the day. I was fucking idiot, dude. I was just like, I was getting involved in these stupid ass arguments. I remember it. And looking back at it, I was like, man, I was so fucking stupid. Why did I do that? God damn, no. But, I was in there, and the moment they changed the operating system, I was like, yep, I'm going back to PC. Fuck all this. Never touching this shit again. You're not fooling me again.
No, I think, like I said, I think console is first on the chopping block for handhelds. But I think if SteamOS comes to PC, Windows is done. Not Microsoft. It should be mentioned quickly.
No, I think Windows
will not be done.
I think Windows will work for corporate environments. Although I will say, I imagine that like a large percentage of people that use Windows are probably gamers now. Because I feel like if people are optimizing properly for a corporate environment, I feel like there's Linux solutions out there right now that are probably compatible enough for a lot of administrative work where people don't really need Windows, and it's much more secure than Windows, and it is much more optimized than Windows. It requires less hardware to run optimally than Windows, assuming you have like a good systems administrator that is knowledgeable of Linux. So like, for instance, me, I've been out of the game. I used to be into all of that stuff back when I was in college. So I'd be super knowledgeable about like, installing Linux and fucking around with it and making it usable as like an administrative operating system. But At the time, the technology was still a little bit rough, and it was very hard to try and get people to adapt to that. But like nowadays, I feel like the technology is probably in a much better place. So if gamers aren't the ones using Windows, they do lose a huge portion of their market. But I also think that for a lot of these companies, they probably don't want to spend money on IT. So they probably just have like some lazy IT guy that probably fucking graduated 15 years ago and he just does Windows because that's all he knows. But like if you get good IT people, they would probably suggest you to use Linux. Again, just for everyday tasks like email, web browsing, and word processing, that type of stuff. Absolutely, you can do that. The thing is, there's still a lot of softwares that only run on Windows, which is a problem. But,
that's the huge thing, I think. But when I say Windows is done, I think I should clarify. I'm talking about the Home and the Pro versions, right? The commercial versions, like the enterprise versions, they're going to stick around because most businesses, I'll take my brother's company, for example, the company that he works for. All of their work is done on Azure, which is Microsoft's cloud. Their Windows and stuff, they buy in bulk, right? So they buy like 1,000 keys at a time.
It's called VLK, volume license keys.
And it all works together because you're already paying for the cloud access. You get massive discounts on the window keys and stuff of that nature. So it just, the ecosystem exists for them and that's fine. But for gamers, once SteamOS comes out, really think about the amount of times because even gamers that have jobs, most go to work, their work PC is not their home PC. When you get home, what do you actually use your PC for? I use my PC to watch series and play video games. If the SteamOS allows me to do that, surprise, surprise, I'm going with SteamOS. Because Windows has a shit ton of stuff that I hate, but I can't turn it off because Windows is trying to cater to everyone rather than just to the gamers.
Listen, Gabe, we need DaVinci support on SteamOS. We need Affinity on SteamOS and Discord. And I'm a happy camper, brother. I was like, it's like Windows is out the window. Windows out the window, dude. It's like
you do DaVinci support. You do OBS support. You figure out how to get all of the, like for example, Elgato. I don't know if they have a Linux-based driver system, but you figure out how to get all of our drivers and stuff for all of our equipment to work. I'm already installing SteamOS. And moving away from Windows.
That's the thing. Nobody likes Windows.
No.
People begrudgingly use
Windows. On Windows likes Windows.
Nobody likes people begrudgingly use Windows, but nobody likes Windows. Let's just be real. No. Nobody likes it.
Dude, the other day, I don't know what happened on my PC. It was some update, and after the update, it had changed my default browser back to Edge.
I'm using Edge.
I was livid. How are you using Edge? What are you doing, bro?
I'm testing. I've been testing it out on Windows 11 just to see how. Because listen, the reality is, as far as I'm aware, Edge runs under Chromium, which is essentially kind of like Chrome. But one of the things that I have noticed is when I'm streaming for long periods of time, chat just explodes from time to time. It's like it just goes like.
But that's not
the dashboard of my YouTube streams and the chat. It's just like gone after a couple of hours. So I have to go and I need a refresh.
That's not.
Does that happen on Chrome as well?
I don't use Chrome. I use Firefox, but it's also Chromium based effectively, right?
Yeah.
Actually, I use Firefox, but it's the one called what's their? I don't remember what it's called now. It's the GX.
That's Opera.
Yeah. But I think Opera is Firefox. No, it's Firefox Opera GX. If I'm not mistaken, I might be mistaken completely. I don't know.
I know which one you're talking about. You're using Opera GX. A lot of people use Opera now.
Yeah. But if I'm streaming for a long time, I will sometimes have it where the streaming site, because remember, there's a lot of chats going on. There's a lot of stuff going on. it'll just crash and go out of memory. And then you just have to refresh.
That
and
happens.
It comes right back up.
That's what happens with Edge as well. It's weird.
And I think
it's like, what do you mean?
Something with
what do you mean out of memory? You've managed to consume whatever gigabytes the game isn't using on my 32 gigabytes. Actually, I think this system might have 64. I'm not sure.
I have 64 gigs of RAM. And I'm just looking at it going, how are you out of memory? What are you talking about? Like, this is not possible. But the reason I think it's doing it is it's not caching correctly. And that might be a Chromium problem.
I have 64 gigs in this one.
Yeah. So it might be a Chromium problem where Chrome released some kind of update a few years ago and they've not fixed it, where it doesn't cache correctly. Because technically, when you're using a website and there's a lot of things happening, it should not remember all of the things that's happening.
Yeah.
It should cache it after a while. But who knows? It's doing its own thing. But anyways, yeah, I just wanted to bring that up because I do think it might be a conversation that becomes relevant in the near future, where Valve seems to be coming for everyone's lunch now. Gabe is like, okay, I'm already a billionaire. I want to be a trillionaire. And he's going to be doing that. So, that's an interesting conversation to be having. Let's quickly move on to another topic that I desperately do want to talk about before we end the show. The next story on the list here is effectively AAA. Well, okay, so we have the CEO and the co-founder of Warhorse Studios, the company behind Kingdom Come Deliverance. Vávra, I think his name is pretty weird. But he actually, in a podcast, came out and said that after speaking to some of the people in the AAA industry, so the people close to him and around him, his friends, because remember this guy worked for the AAA industry for a while, he says that companies currently are terrified of specifically Asmongold and Critical Drinker, but actually just more generally of critique channels.
Oh, no.
Channels that do gaming critique.
We're being held accountable. Oh, no.
Yeah. But you know why? I actually don't even necessarily... I think there's more to this. And the reason for it is, for so long, right, the media pretended like YouTubers don't matter. Who cares what the YouTubers think? The influencers don't. It's a cute little thing, but we're the ones that matter. The media, if the media says yes, yes. If the media says no, no. And they convinced all of these publishers that, look, if we tell you that this is the game that you have to make, this is the game that you have to make. If we tell you don't, because we know more than anyone else.
Yep.
We will be your sort of eyes and ears of the gaming industry. And I think slowly but surely, more and more AAA studios have started to wake up to this idea that when the media tells us this is a 9 out of 10 game, but the YouTubers say we don't want this, time and time again, the YouTubers prove to be a hell of a lot more effective at, number one, conveying the emotions and the feelings of the player base. But more importantly, when the YouTubers start criticizing our game, it appears to have an effect on sales. Far more than whenever the media say stuff.
It's because, interestingly enough, there's always been this idea that the media is held to a higher standard because, they have a website and there's publishing directives and there's all of these deals that happen behind the scenes and all of this stuff. But the reality is, even though they might, to some extent, be held to some standard, the reality is we get held also to an extremely high standard. The difference is our high standard is if we fuck up, there's going to be hell to pay for the YouTubers that fuck up because the community polices itself. And that is way more punishing than a lot of that I've seen for a lot of these publications. Like, for instance, if I tell you the name, what was his name actually? Now that I'm trying, it was something Musin. Do you remember that name?
It sounds familiar, but I can't say that I remember.
It was the guy who plagiarized his reviews on IGN.
Oh yes, I remember that. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
so
Okay, I remember the story exactly.
Philip Mewson was the name of the guy,
I
right?
remember the
So
story
see,
exactly.
the community polices itself, right?
Yeah.
And this dude basically stole from a YouTuber, and everybody's like, "Hey, wait, what the fuck? You can't do that." But not just that, but whenever a YouTuber does something wrong, people will jump on top of their throat. Like if I was to come out tomorrow and make a video, and my opinion was completely wrong, factually incorrect, and all of that stuff, there's going to be a bunch of comments. And if it's bad enough, there's going to be people making videos about me talking about, how dare he say stuff like this. And, so the community polices itself, and you get instantly slapped down the moment that you fuck up. And I feel like that also causes a lot of YouTubers to also be more in tune with their communities and all of that stuff. And I feel like over the years, mainstream gaming media has kind of become a little bit out of touch with not all of them, because that's the thing. You like to say all of them. I'm like, no, there's still a couple of good ones out there. There's still a couple of ones out there that I like reading. I like seeing what they say. I think there's room for both in the industry. I do. And I know that a lot of people get upset over that, because I look at everything and I like to say that, like, listen, every community has bad apples. That is to say, when it comes to gaming journalists, they have bad apples as well. When it comes to YouTubers, we have bad apples as well. 100% we do. Like, it's not super hard to find them. But at the end of the day, both forms of content have a certain amount of value. What I think is a lot of developers have greatly underestimated the value and power of the YouTubers and the live streamers and all of that stuff. And they've been course correcting over the years. Like, you've seen a lot of brand deals coming on and stuff of people like usually asking, hey, we'll pay you and you will play our video game on launch. And that can kind of like have a huge impact and stuff like that. But I think it makes sense that they are scared of Asmongold, because Asmongold commands a massive audience. And I always find it interesting whenever people go out and they say, like, well, yeah, but the audience of Asmongold is a bunch of bigots and racists and, homophobes and the usual stuff that people like to talk about. And it's like, no, there are some people there that are probably like that. Yes, absolutely. There's probably some people in my audience that are like that. Yeah, sure. I mean, I don't promote that type of stuff. I'm not going to engage with that type of content or stuff, but it's like, you can't really control how many people are consuming your content. You can try to shape your community to an extent. And the way that I do it is I just avoid being like, I don't like you because of this, unless you're just like blatantly, overtly like racist, transphobe. Then I'll be like, okay, yeah, but if somebody says something that I happen to disagree with, that's not the first thing that I go to. As a matter of fact, usually I engage with it. And you are the same, because I see it on your stream all the time. Like, somebody will say something that you'll disagree with, and you're like, okay, let's unpack this. Let's talk about it. Why do you think like this? Let's talk about this thing. And let's just like, okay, here's where I stand. Here's where you stand. It's cool if we disagree or whatever. And so long as it doesn't devolve into mudslinging, I think that's a fine interaction. And, at the end of the interaction, you can both just like agree to disagree, and it's whatever. Or you can change my mind, or I can change your mind. Sometimes stuff happens like that. But I just don't like this idea that people have gotten comfortable with, which is to just, they see one or two interactions and they'll be like, yep, everybody in this audience of like 40,000 people that are watching live right now, every single one of them is a racist, a bigot, and blah, 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 whatever other ist words they have to throw around, which is just ridiculous. So it's like, Asmongold commands a massive audience. There's going to be bad apples in there, and there's going to be some less bad apples in there. It is what it is. And at the end of the day, publishers and developers should be aware of these audiences and what these audiences like, because whether you like it or not, this is a representative slice of gamers. It is.
No, absolutely. And I think the other problem is that media companies don't seem to understand is there's a communal effect, right? So Asmongold makes a statement about Assassin's Creed Shadows. Then I make a video, and Demian makes a video. This guy makes a video, that guy makes a video. And before you know it, the community or the communal effect isn't just 40,000 people watching live or 2 million people watching live. It's 10 million, 20 million people who have all seen the opinions. They might not all agree with the opinions, but they have all seen the opinions, right? And that is going to have a cumulative effect that, for example, media doesn't always have, because media is very limited, at least before YouTube existed. Media was limited to whoever saw their specific little post. And it's always been a very closed off little system that doesn't really allow for it. So I want to point out, I do not believe that, I believe in the institution of the media. I think right now the media requires, well, they require a massive shakeup, because I do think that, well, I don't even know if I believe necessarily in the institution of media anymore. I do think that YouTube is the future. I think Twitch is the future. I think places like Twitter is already making it possible. If we could get rid of the clickbait, rage bait nonsense on Twitter, you could probably run a full-fledged media company on Twitter, and you'd have much faster output. You'd be able to communicate the information without the need for, because oftentimes this is the big problem with media also, and you see that. You also read a lot of articles. Sometimes you get these articles where you realize there was a minimum word count, where they're saying so many. Yeah, they're saying so many unnecessary things here, and just to hit the minimum word count.
It's funny to say that as we're on the second hour of our podcast. The podcast it's a different type of medium, okay? We get to do this.
Yeah. I mean, people come to this channel for our opinions banter, and for our discussions and stuff. One of the most common feedback we get, or at least I get, is you guys should do it longer.
Yes.
And I'm like, dude, exactly. My voice can only do this many hours. What are you talking about? Like, we're already doing like 2.5, 3 hours. What do you? But
yeah, like I was saying, that the thing that I think is important is that even though Asmongold commands a massive audience, everybody believes that every single person in Asmongold's chat 100% agrees and supports him. No, there's a lot of people in there that don't agree with everything that he says. There's a lot of people that are in there that are hate watching. Like I find myself like sometimes I agree with stuff he says, sometimes I don't. Like, for instance, even yesterday, I was watching his stream and he's talking about how like 99% of people can't tell input lag with DLSS and all that. And I was like, no. Come on now. It's like a lot more people can feel the input lag of like DLSS and frame generation and all of this stuff. And you know. So it's like there's stuff that he says where I'm like, okay, I agree with this. I don't agree with that. And I feel like nowadays most people, they just try to generalize everything. That's the thing. They generalize everything, which is why some people from your audience now think that they're like, oh, you're turning into a lefty because you're talking to Rurikon, or people in my audience, you're turning into a right-wing grifter because you're talking to Akalon. And it's like, you can't generalize people to that extent. You can't. No. Not only you can't do it, but when you do it, it actually gets to a point where it starts getting insulting. And that's why a lot of times people start getting upset, because you're just like constantly popping off, and you know, and people are just like, no, I'm not like this. Stop saying that I'm like this. It's you're being weird. But yeah, I think that companies should definitely be more wary of YouTubers, and they haven't been. That's the thing. And because they haven't been, you know, they then get blindsided all of a sudden when it's like, well, what do you mean? Every journalist that we've had over has said that this thing is amazing. And now all of a sudden we put it out there on the internet and nobody likes it? What do you mean? Every journalist that we've had to play test Concord, they said it was the best hero shooter ever. What do you mean?
But I mean, that's the issue, right? It's a self-dug hole.
Yeah.
The industry found it super helpful to pay off the mouthpieces to the point where the mouthpieces say what they want them to say. And now they're wondering why the community no longer trusts the mouthpieces. It's like, well, you guys gave Dragon Age the Veilguard 10 out of 10.
Yeah, that was.
We know that it's not a 10 out of 10 game.
It's
right?
like I don't care about review scores pretty much at all. That's the reason why I don't give review scores.
Mhm.
But I genuinely find it hard that somebody likes Veilguard enough to give it a 10 out of 10. I think that it's very, and again, I've played the whole game. I've done everything there is to do about the game, and I can look at all of the positives and all of the negatives. And it's like, there's no way that you play this game and you don't come out of it with like, well, this part was a little bit too repetitive. The story's not really that interesting at all. The dialogue is just fucking garbage, absolute garbage. And it's just like, I find it very hard that somebody who does reviews for a living, which by the way is not what I do. I don't do reviews for a living. I do reviews every now and then, but it's not my main bread and butter.
I do reviews for games that I like really, really enjoy and really care about.
Yeah. At which point
do a review.
you're already biased to begin with. So
yeah.
I
100% admit that, right?
Yeah.
If I want to see a review, I'll watch someone like Angry Joe or Worth a Buy. You know, because they do reviews of video games, whether they like them or not, doesn't matter. Whereas when I don't even like, that's why I don't call it reviews. I talk about games that I like.
Yeah.
If I'm going to make a video telling you to buy a game, it's because I really enjoyed the game. Otherwise, I'm just going to shit on the game because of the bad decisions that they made, and I'm going to move on, right? I'm not going to go into every little detail of the game. But then also, I think what is very important is I'm trying to think of all of my most beloved games. I don't think there's a single one that I can give a 10 for. Because even my favorite games out there does have bad things. There's always one or two things that the controls isn't the greatest, or the key binding isn't the greatest, or sometimes there might be some graphical glitches, or there's always something that happens. There's no 10 out of 10 means perfect. It means it's perfect. How can you make a perfect game? Like, what even are you talking about perfect?
I think that if you have a scale, you should be able to use the whole scale. I think it would be fair that some games do get a 10 out of 10. I don't think that Veilguard is one of those games.
You see, I don't agree that you should be able to use the whole scale, because 10 and 1. So, for example, I will actually 10 and 0. I will also never say that a game can get a 0 out of 10. And the reason for it is,
if it doesn't run, it's a 0.
Well, if it doesn't run, but then it's also not really a game that you can review, because
I mean, they might
run it.
They might have like put some marketing material out there and be like, "Hey, this is our video game. Check it out." And they show gameplay or whatever. Okay, then you install it. And it's like it doesn't run. It's like that's a 0.
Yeah, but we don't
0 out of 10 doesn't
because we can
doesn't run,
right? But the thing is, 10 and 0 to me are more like they're indicators. So when I give a game an 8 out of 10, I'm saying this game is very near to what I would consider the perfect game. 9 out of 10 means, dude, this game may as well be perfect. The amount of small little differences that may be there isn't enough to, like, it's basically a 10. But when you give a game a 10, you're physically saying that it could do nothing better than what it's doing. And that is just, in every game that I can think of right now, an objectively false statement. There's almost always something that it could absolutely have done better. I'm thinking of things like Witcher 3, Cyberpunk 2077, Baldur's Gate 3, Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3. All phenomenal games, but they have places where they don't live up to what would make it a 10.
See, and this is why the thing that I was going through my mind just now is one of those things where it's like, this is why it's important for people to be in touch with their subject matter whenever they're talking about things. Every single one of those games, I could instantly point out a thing that I didn't like of those games that you mentioned. I was like, okay, so, and I was trying to come up with stuff. So like, okay, so Mass Effect 1, Shooting is not that great. The Mako
No.
stuff kind of annoying. Yeah, you know. But other than
Really
that,
sucks.
pretty good game. Then I was like, okay, but Mass Effect 2 doesn't have the Mako stuff. So Mass Effect 2 could be a 10 out of 10. And then I was like, no, Mass Effect 2 has the planet probing thing that's annoying as
Which also
fuck.
kind of sucks.
It's so annoying. It's like,
Yeah.
probe launched or whatever the fuck it is. Resources detected. It's like, yep,
Yeah.
I did the fuck out of that. You know, and then it was like Witcher 3, and I was like, yep, the combat could be way better in Witcher 3. So
Yeah,
it's like every single game that you were saying, I was like, you know, I was trying to find a flaw in your argument. I was like, no, all of those games do have flaws. And then I was trying to come up, what would be a 10 out of 10? It's like my two favorite games popped to mind. And it's like base Monster Hunter World. And Monster Hunter World is really close, but it's got problems in multiplayer with the way that they do cutscenes for multiplayer. That's one of the biggest issues that game has. So like say we're playing together and you're going to go, you progress and now you're going to hunt the Baroth. Well, I can't just jump into your quest to go hunt the Baroth. We both have to go on our separate quests to play the cutscene, and then we exit out of those quests and launch the Baroth quest again if we want to go in together, which makes no fucking sense. So it's like, it's got problems like that, which is like, if in the grand scheme of things, is this a big problem? Nah. If you're playing by yourself, you're not even going to notice this. But, you know, there are issues. The other game was like the original Dark Souls. And I was like, the Izalith section of the original Dark Souls is kind of really bad. Bed of Chaos is a really bad boss. It's like, it's close to, in my heart, it's a 10 out of 10, but I can objectively say, there's problems.
You see, but that's the thing. If you ask me, in terms of enjoyment derived from the game, that's
you
a whole
can point
thing.
out a 10 out of 10, but
Mass Effect is a 10 out of 10.
Yeah,
enjoyment derived from the game.
This is one of those situations where like, no, you should be able to use the whole scale. And then I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to come up with an example. And then I hear crickets in my brain. It's like, no, there's actually
because
even if I did do the thing, there are not games that I would give 10 out of 10. Like I've gotten 20 out of 10 enjoyment out of them. But critically thinking, those games were not 10s out of 10s.
But you see, that's the thing. If I'm just doing
I'll concede.
Yeah. But if I'm just doing an opinion, and I'm saying this more for people maybe watching, I can tell you Mass Effect is a 10 out of 10 game.
Yeah.
But that's just an opinion, right? It's because when I play that game, I am having the most fun I could have is this game. I love this game. But when I'm doing a review, there is an expectation from my community that I'm approaching it objectively. And then my fun is not the only factor. It is a factor, right? Did I have fun in it? That is a factor. And also, it's an important factor. Because when I review, if I were a review channel, and for example, the new Call of Duty comes out, and I review that, it would be hyper important right off the bat that I say, guys, I'm not a first-person shooter fan.
Yeah, I'm not a Call of Duty player. Yep.
Right? Yeah, so I am reviewing this purely based on the fundamentals. I'm not telling you whether I had fun, because the answer is no. I didn't have fun playing it.
It's like, that's the preface that I give to all of my Path of Exile 2 videos. It's like, guys, I have no fucking idea what I'm doing. Having said that, let's talk about this.
But you have to do that, right? Because you're not an expert in ARPGs. You just happen to love this one. Yeah. And you want to talk about this one. So obviously that makes sense. But I feel like that's something also that as a YouTuber, you are aware of, because your community will be on you like white on rice if you don't do that, right? If your community figures out that, hey, this guy is doing a bunch of review crap and he's not being honest about the fact that he doesn't play these games or he doesn't do this.
The moment you're being dishonest, I think the community can even tell. Like it's people have gotten to a point where they can read creators so well that they can usually tell when you're trying to fake stuff. So,
it kind of makes sense, you know. I upload between 3 and 9 videos a day.
You're crazy.
Right? I upload a lot of videos. So my audience is spending more than an hour a day with me just on my videos. That's not even my streams, which is another 4 or 5 hours a day that my community is spending. So when I say something that is just objectively false, my community will immediately be like, well, that's weird. He never says things like this. Why is he looking away? Why is he doing this? Why is he doing that? Right? So they will be able to, even if they don't know if it's lies, they will feel uncomfortable because they'll understand it. But you're also just kept in check because there's a lot more interaction. It's a lot more. You are putting yourself at the mercy of your audience. And more specifically, because you're not being paid by some third party. You're physically being paid by your viewers. Even when they're not paying you a subscription, their view is how you get paid. So you're very aware of the fact that you make an impact on them. And this gives us that power because it goes both ways. The effect and the power that you guys have on me, I also have on you, right? That's why you're watching. If you were just watching to hate watch, that's a whole different story. But most people aren't
still
just
power.
hate watching.
That's still power.
Yeah. True, but that usually goes the opposite way, right? If you just have 100% hate watchers, if you say this game is really good, no one's buying it because they're hate watching.
Yeah.
But most people are watching their YouTubers because they like them. Right? They wouldn't watch if they don't like it. So fundamentally, that is, I think, our greatest strength. And I think the AAA community or AAA industry is finally waking up to this. They're finally realizing, wait a second, these guys have a lot of power. And I hate the word influencer because it's not influencer. Too. I want to be so clear. People like to think that, oh, they're influencing their community, which to me is actually kind of stupid. What ends up happening and why it looks like influencing, but it really isn't that. What ends up happening is you build a community that has things in common with you.
With you, yeah. That's usually what people tell me. It's like, oh man, I like the stuff that you do because I like the same games as you, and therefore,
yeah.
You know, it's whenever you like a game, we end up liking the same game.
Exactly. It's not you influencing. Like, they started watching you because they're similar to you.
Imagine like somebody who does 4X games or grand strategy and comes up to me and goes like, okay, I'm gonna need you to influence your audience to buy this 4X game. And I was like, what do you mean, bro? I don't even play 4X games.
Yeah.
I've done it in the past, by the way. I do enjoy 4X to an extent, but yeah, it's not gonna happen.
But I'm
not gonna influence my Monster Hunter community to buy a 4X game just because I'm into it. Okay.
Wow. I mean, the same is true. I love games like XCOM, for example, but I will never tell my community to play XCOM because that's a guilty little pleasure of mine. My main games, that's what my community is built around, right? Yeah. And that's the kind of stuff that they'll trust me with if I told them, hey, you can play this. This is really fun. And it's the same with you, right? Yeah. Monster Hunter, Elden Ring, those types of games, guaranteed, because your audience watches you because they play those games too. That's why when that Pinocchio game came out, Lies of P, when that game came out, right? If you told your community, guys, this is a really fun Souls-like game, they immediately go. It's not that you influenced them. What happened
they were already ready to get on there. They were just waiting for a little bit of confirmation. Yes.
Or it could literally just be this. The thought process would be, I like Rurikon. That's why I watch his content. I like all the same games that he does. Like he loves Monster Hunter. I love Monster Hunter. He loves Elden Ring. I love Elden Ring. He loves Lives of P. It's a good bet that I'm going to love it too because we like the same types of games. So I'm going to buy it. Did you actually influence them or were they always going to buy it? They just didn't know.
That's the funny part because specifically with Lies of P, it was so nuanced because I had a love-hate relationship with that game. It's like, I loved it, and then I immediately hated it, and then I hated it, and then I immediately loved it. So it was really weird. So I actually had people criticizing the fact that I wasn't as into it as they wanted me to be, and then when I got into it, they criticized the fact that, why are you getting into it? It's not that good. It's really weird. I platinumed that game, though, so, you know, it is what it is. Yeah.
But the thing is,
for it.
I don't think you influence people in the way that people think, right? I think the influence comes from both sides, and it's basically just a connection that is made.
And whereas a lot of people are probably upset that people are more and more aware of the fact that there are these things about influencing and people trying to manipulate you online and all of this stuff. There are some people that's like, oh man, the audience is getting aware of it. I'm usually like, thank fucking God. That way you can stop calling me a shill whenever I like something. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. I hate the word influencer because I don't believe that I'm influencing my community. I believe that me and my community like the same things.
Yeah.
More often than not, I'm simply bringing to their attention games that they might not even know exists.
Yeah.
Right. And because I like it and they like the same stuff as I do. But there's a long story short, they're finally starting to realize that, oh, wait, these guys that are making YouTube videos, clearly they know what they're talking about. And clearly the community is a hell of a lot more informed these days than what they were in the past.
And again, if you were talking about actually being able to influence, if that was actually a thing, then World of Warcraft would be in a very different place right now. The amount of times that Asmongold has tried to make changes to World of Warcraft and never succeeded are astonishing. And I mean, never succeeded. I'm not trying to be dismissive. Like, he had a bit of an impact, but it was never like, because if it was up to Asmongold, there would be no WoW token. WoW token's still there, isn't it? So it's like when you're talking about influence, it doesn't seem like he was able to influence that much. If it was up to Asmongold, nobody would buy store mounts. People do it to his fucking face all the goddamn time. So obviously he wasn't able to impact influence. If it was up to him, there would be no botting in World of Warcraft. Guess what? There still is. Botting. So it's like there's a limit to how much influence people can actually have. But yeah, that it is important that companies do become aware that it's not about Asmongold influencing his audience. It's about the audience that rallied around Asmongold shares a lot of his views, not all of them, but a lot of his views. So whenever
that's why they watch.
Whenever he makes comments about a video game, it's not really like, oh, because Asmongold said this, now this game's going to burn to the ground. It's more so Asmongold is in tune with this community, and what he said apparently was proven true because this game burned to the ground. It's more than that, I feel.
If you think that we're just completely, Kappa-brained and we don't know what we're talking about, I would invite you to go to the comment section of every YouTuber's YouTube videos.
Yeah.
There are people with incredibly different opinions on every single video.
Yep.
If it was true that you were influencing your community, there would be a point where
agreement.
Where everyone just goes 100% based. That's all of the comments right down the list. And that's never what happens. Sometimes, and this is the minority of comments, will be people just super negative and super hateful. That does happen. But the majority of comments are people going, I agree with you, however, and then they'll sort of disagree with some of the stuff you just said. Because human beings actually have the ability to think for themselves. Most are not just doing what you're doing.
Which is super healthy, by the way. And I feel like more YouTubers need to embrace that and be like comfortable with disagreeing with some people in their audience about a multitude of topics.
I mean, you brought it up. One of my key rules in my streams as well as on my YouTube channel is I will entertain all disagreement, provided that you can take the conversation as well as you give it.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna embrace the debate, I don't want just you screaming at me your opinion. Yeah,
you're wrong.
Then I'm just gonna ban you.
Yeah.
But if you disagree with me and you can actually make a coherent argument, even if I don't agree with the argument, I'm happy to engage with it. But you do get these people that just, the other day I had someone coming in saying, why do you hate black people? Like, well, that's an interesting question. What have I said in the past that have shown you that I hate black people? And they're you just make all of these videos that you hate DEI and you hate black people in video games. And I said, okay, perfectly fine question. Can you show me a single video? Like I asked him, just give me a single video where I said I don't want black people in video games. Just one. And then they went, no, you're just a homophobic, right? I'm like, wow, we're just going through the list here. So you very quickly realize,
isn't one of your brothers gay? This is a problem now because you're homophobic. Yeah. And like, how are you dealing with your gay brother? I'm super
homophobic. I literally spoke to the gay dude yesterday. Like just last night, I was speaking to my gay brother. It's like, what are we talking about here? But you realize, okay, this person isn't actually interested in having the debate, because I would be 100% willing if he then went and said, in this video,
here's what you said.
4. Here's what you said. Then I can go listen to it. And I can go, oh, wait, I think you're completely misunderstanding. Or maybe I did say I don't want black people in video games. Right?
I have different discussions in my channel. People come up to me and they're like, you are a longsword hater. You hate the longsword. And I was like, okay, when did I say I hate the longsword? It's like, well, I'm not going to go back and look for it. It's like, oh. Okay.
Oh, that's an interesting debate.
So you're saying I said this thing, but you're not going to show me the proof that I've said it. Okay.
Yeah.
And in this same video, I'm telling you that I don't hate this thing, but okay.
Yeah. No, it is the sort of thing when I realize that someone is just interested in throwing accusations around, that's a quick ban. But if you're willing to have the debate, willing to discuss, I'm happy to have any discussion because I'm always open to changing my mind. I'm not the kind of guy that goes, I know, and that's what I know, and screw anyone that wants to tell me differently. What I want is the truth. I don't. You can't handle the
truth.
Well, I will try.
That was just like, but, that's from a movie, right?
Yeah, of course. I literally watched it like 2 weeks ago. One of the greatest movies ever, man. But what I want is the truth, right? I don't care about being right. Being right means nothing if I don't have the truth.
Yeah.
So I think more creators are like that than not. Although there are obviously those that are not. Okay, so guys, we ended up covering a lot more than we had planned, but not close
the actual topics.
Yeah, the actual topics we didn't cover that much because we kept thinking of new topics. So I'll just very quickly give you guys Alyssa Mercante, the journalist that was bad-mouthing and doxing YouTubers and fighting with YouTubers about the Sweet Baby Inc. stuff. She got fired from her.
I would just like to warn you, be careful what you say about her because she will sue you. Okay?
Yeah, she's very litigious.
Yes.
But
be careful.
But so she got fired from her job. Then she sort of went on the full attack and started suing Smash JT for the most useless lawsuits in the history of the world. And she's been full on gaslighting everyone about Sweet Baby Inc. Well, she's got a new grift now. She's basically gone in the same direction as Anita Sarkeesian and Zoe Quinn back in the day. For those of you that don't know, that's Gamergate 1, ancient lore figures, right? From 2014.
Anita Sarkeesian, bro.
Yes.
Jesus Christ.
Now, Anita Sarkeesian went and started a Kickstarter campaign where people would donate, and she was going to set forth feminist frequency, which was going to be
you're actually bringing back you're actually reminding people of that.
It's relevant. It's relevant.
I thought that you're talking about something that Anita Sarkeesian did now.
No. Anita Sarkeesian did that, right? Feminist frequency was going to be this massive expose podcast thing back before podcasts were even really cool. It ended up being 2 episodes, super low budget, but she got well over $1 million. No,
it was more than 2 episodes. It was a bunch of episodes, I think.
No. The episodes that were promised was like 2. They ended up doing like a bunch of super low budget, just sitting around talking bullshit. But these were supposed to be like deep dive, expose level, unraveling the industry from the inside kind of thing. And those specific episodes were just not really in depth. The rest of it was just sort of shot with a single camera, people talking nonsense. I think 14 was the final number of Feminist Frequency episodes. and then you could check that if it's still up.
I was
don't even know if it's still
looking
up.
at it, but it's just like there's a bunch of slop in this channel.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find the actual. I didn't even realize that they've been uploading so much slop since then. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. The channel is basically dead now. Just doing still trying to keep the grift alive, but the grift is basically dead now. The other person, of course, Zoe Quinn, also started a Kickstarter campaign.
Bro.
Yeah.
How is this 200,010 subscribers channel have less views than Mythic Banter?
Dude, no, this is the problem, right? They promised.
Oh, no!
Yeah, she basically promised to build a media empire.
Here it is.
That's gonna fight for women.
So
right, in the video game industry, and it ended up not doing any of that.
Isn't it the tropes versus women? I guess.
Yeah, trope something or some shit like that. I think is what it was going to be called, but it was going to be. Oh no, that's the podcast that she started. No.
Something. Tropes versus women is the one that the stuff that I had seen Anita Sarkeesian do. Those are the videos that we were talking about back in the day. Dude, this was this was 9 years ago. Holy shit.
Yeah, it's 2014, bro. It's very long ago. I'm going on on memory here, right? So I haven't researched this in a very long time.
Okay,
I'm going on memory.
I don't want to look at this anymore.
Yeah, but then you have Zoe Quinn, who did the same thing. Also, Kickstarter campaign. I don't even know if it was called Kickstarter, but basically funding, right? Crowdfunding.
Yeah.
Also millions of dollars to make a feminist video game.
Thousands of dollars. I don't think it was millions.
No. Zoe Quinn got millions because she was going to make a feminist video game.
I think it wasn't it hundreds of thousands? I don't know. Anyway, I don't want to look at it.
It was.
I could swear it was in the hundreds of thousands, but yeah.
You can check, but one of them made millions. Actually, I think both of them made millions. This is why it was such a big story, because both of them rug pulled 100%. Took the money and just left. The feminist frequency channel eventually fell under so much trouble because the people who were on the channel.
Dude, I'm gonna ask him.
Check what they have to say. But the feminist frequency channel ultimately got under had so much trouble because the people who were working for it wasn't even getting paid, and people were asking, "What the hell did you do with all of our money?" But then Zoe Quinn also same problem, promised a feminist video game. Video game never releases. Never, ever. There's no game ever. So the money just gone. No one got their money. No one got their game. Now, Alyssa Mercante has started her own little grift. She has a YouTube channel now, right? Her first video that she uploaded was to tell gamers why their opinion...
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
Feminist Frequency reportedly raised $440,000. That was Feminist Frequency. Again, this is ChatGPT, so take these with a grain of salt.
No, it could actually be correct.
And Zoe Quinn raised $85,000. This is why I was like, bro, this ain't millions. I remembered hundreds of thousands, which is what Feminist Frequency did, but like millions is a lot of fucking money.
Yeah. Okay, my apologies. Like I said, I'm going off of memory here, right? And we're talking 2014 memory before I was even making YouTube videos. So I was just watching people sort of covering this, and I didn't even care about it at the time. I just remember Shoe on Head got really famous during that time, and there was the other guy, Sargon of Akkad, also really blew up during that time. So every once in a while I would see some of their videos popping up with Gamergate 1. And the number million sticks in my head somehow, but I'm not sure why.
Yeah, I was like, it's not millions.
Yeah. So I'm happy to be wrong about something that's almost a decade old at this point.
It kind of restores a little bit of faith in humanity, doesn't it? It's like, well, at least it wasn't millions, okay? At least we weren't that dumb.
But even 85,000, remember the money was never refunded. Right?
Oh, yeah.
So Zoe Quinn gets a shit ton of money.
She took that and ran and fuck everybody. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. And just left with the money.
Yep.
Now, Alyssa Mercante does basically the same thing. So there's a Kickstarter campaign for a new documentary that's called Gaming While Black. The video that they have as the preview video for Gaming While Black is so poorly made.
No, but wait, let me just get this right. So Alyssa Mercante, a white woman, is making a documentary, Gaming While Black.
So here's the problem. I haven't been able to figure out who is actually behind the documentary.
Oh, okay. It's just Alyssa is involved in it.
She is in the documentary, and she says something like, at our studio, we're interested in you, and you matter. And I'm like, it sounds like she's behind this. Like, the studio shooting this documentary, it's her studio. It must be then. I don't know. I haven't been able to figure it out yet, right? Well, apparently, who knows, right? But she has something going on. She's about to own
the chuds, dude. Just wait.
I just need to check this. But Gaming While Black, last time I checked, had raised $430.
How long
that's the grand total. Let me just quickly see.
How long has this campaign been going?
Oh, like a month. Yeah, like a month. I'm trying to see where is this Kickstarter? Let's go that Park Place. Does it have a link for me to this website?
That's yeah.
It's very bad. Like, it is. I mean, very bad.
She better hope that Smash JT lawsuit goes her way.
Oh yeah, I mean, but now she also has this YouTube channel, and this is actually where I think it actually makes me very, very angry. So she started her own YouTube channel because she claims that this is where it's happening, right? And that the industry is all about luck. That's why so many thousands of journalists are out of a job. But then she goes on this, her first video uploaded to her.
The industry is all about luck? That's what she's saying? Okay.
Yeah. To be a journalist, it's all about luck. And then she goes on this weird DI rant, but not even necessarily DI. She goes on this thing where she says, the reason you shouldn't trust YouTubers, right, when it comes to award shows and things, is because the award shows is meant for people who are in the industry, who understand the industry, and users, or in this case, gamers, don't understand the industry. That is why the Game Awards should be voted on by journalists and industry insiders, because they understand the industry. You gamers are too stupid. You don't know how to make good games, right? So we are the ones that's voting on it. And I looked at it and I thought to myself, what are you talking about? You literally glazed Dragon Age the Veilguard. You glazed Dustborn. Like, yeah. She was like all aboard all the SBI stuff. And you know, she's basically gotten to the point now where she is, whatever the anti-woke guys like, she hates. And whatever we hate, she likes, right? I can't remember what was the last piece she wrote. She was fired before Dragon Age the Veilguard controversies came out. So it was mostly just on Twitter that she was sort of going, this is a really good game and really well thought out game and shit like that. But there was an article that she wrote before she got fired that was just so egregiously bad. I can't even remember. But I just know that the reason she's not in a job, by the way, is because she's not a good journalist.
Oh yeah, that much I can tell you. I've read some of her articles, particularly the ones about Elden Ring, because that's
that's the one that triggers you the whole time,
so to speak, right? Yeah. And so it's like, I remember reading her Elden Ring stuff, and I was like, what is this? Like, what do you mean?
Yeah. But she's just not a good journalist. That's why she's no longer in journalism. That's why no one wants to hire her, because she's bad. She doesn't do a good job. One of her reasons, she was literally on that video reviewing a website. So the whole thing is from her Twitch stream, because now she has a Twitch stream, obviously.
I was trying to find her YouTube channel. I can't find her YouTube channel.
Oh, it's very difficult to find. I'll give you the link. Because she has one video on it. She has 100 and something subscribers. And the video has 2,200 views, except most of that is just people hate watching. Most likely just YouTubers who made videos about it that watched it. But in the video, she's reviewing this article that was written about some Gamergate nonsense. And she says, you can tell this is a good article. Look how long it is. I mean,
yeah, man.
What? That's not that.
I can get ChatGPT to write a lot of words. That's good.
Yeah, I mean that's not a mark of a good article. A good article can be 5 sentences
long.
Look at how good this reveals information.
Look at how good this podcast is. About to reach 3 hours, or probably even more by now. Yeah. It's amazing, bro. Let's just keep recording forever.
Podcast on the internet. But so she basically she's connected to this gaming while black thing, and I guarantee you guys, it is a rug pull. It is a grift. This is the game.
So kind of your argument is basically that she's doing the same thing that Zoe Quinn and Anissa Sarkeesian did.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it.
It's make a name for yourself.
The worst part is that if it is a rug pull, it is a rug pull where they're basically rug pulling their own team. Kind of, it's like a team kill essentially.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a bad game because, or it's a rug pull because the video that they have of the Black Wild Gaming Kickstarter, dude, is so badly done. The audio only comes out of the left side, and it's not just for me. It's everyone hears it only out of the left side. That's like one of the easiest things to fix in post.
What if it's intentional though?
But why would it be intentional?
Because it's from the left side.
So you're thinking they thought about this as left-wing politics, we should do it from the left? I mean, if it is, that's actually kind of big brain, but very, very bad. And the reason it's very bad is anyone that's ever tried to do this, if you ever have if you have the programming for it, actually, easy way to do this. Put your headphones on, plug it into your car.
I hate that.
Right?
I can't. It takes me back. It takes me back to my younger years, where where you used to have those headphones, and the wire in the headphone jack would kind of break, but not completely. And then it's like if you put it in the exact position, you'd hear from both. But then you'd put the Walkman on your pocket or in the back or whatever, and then suddenly it jiggled a little bit, and it's like fuck, it's only on the right ear or on the left. I hate it so much. So yeah. To me, it's super triggering. The moment you have something that you can only hear out of one ear, I'm like, bro, I can't. You got to change it. No, I can't do it. Dude.
It's incredibly jarring. It throws everything off. You feel out of place. That's the video that they have. And now the problem is, I'm literally Googling gaming while black. And for those of you that think, oh, he's just making this up, I have a video about it. So I have the video footage of me showing the Kickstarter campaign. But I'm Googling Gaming While Black, and it's no longer showing up, which now makes me think they may have pulled it already.
That's not a very successful rug pull. I saw a kid that rug pulled people for like $20K on the internet. They were able to rug pull people for $500, $400. I'm not impressed. I'm more impressed with the 13-year-old. Did you hear about that story? That 13-year-old rug pulled people for $20K. Then he made another one saying, I'm sorry, rug pulled him again for $10K. Then he made another one for his dog or whatever it was. Rug pulled people for another $8K. This fucking kid just rug pulled people. This 13-year-old kid rug pulled people for $38K. I was like, what the fuck, dude?
Here we go. I found it. So it's Gaming While Black. It's run by Black Sparrow Media is organizing this fundraiser. They've been able to fundraise 370 USD. Their target was 5K. The whole thing is so so bad. And this is the nice thing about this is it feels like Alyssa Mercante, if she's behind this, of course, because we don't really know who is behind this, but if she is behind this, it's nice to know that she completely jumped the gun, right? Because ordinarily speaking, you would want to be famous enough that you're actually going to be making actually going to be making money before you start rug pulling people. I think she went a little bit too quickly. So Googling Black Sparrow Media, it genuinely seems like a bit of a... Wait, what is
I'm going to ask
this?
ChatGPT, what do you know about Black Sparrow Media? ChatGPT is our helper this podcast. I have no idea.
Black Sparrow Media looks like a pretty much... They're different. So they were part of the Game Awards, but they seem to just be making documentaries for anyone. So anyone who wants documentaries can get documentaries. The issue that I have is when I look at the fundraiser and it says Black Sparrow Media is organizing this fundraiser, there's no link on here to their website.
I mean,
so Black Sparrow
they have a .org website, but yeah, I don't know anything about Black Sparrow Media. It's pointless to try and do research live now during the podcast. But Alyssa Mercante, I definitely personally don't trust. If you do, that's fine. That's your prerogative.
Yeah.
But I just thought it was weird when you started saying that she's working on this gaming while black thing, because I'm just like, what does she have to offer to the topic of gaming while black? Like, I wouldn't have anything to offer to the topic of gaming while black because I'm not. Guess what? I'm a Caucasian man. Oh no.
Yeah, but I think also, even if it isn't the case, because like I said, I've been desperately trying to figure out who's behind Black Sparrow Media, who works there. It is so difficult to find because they don't have the actual people that work on their website. So I've just sort of assumed that she has to be a part of it because she keeps talking about this studio that she has that wants to be authentic to black people and shit. And I'm like, what studio? You were a journalist like 5 minutes ago. What studio?
Listen, here's what I think about this. I don't care. I don't care about what Alyssa Mercante is doing. If people are going to be dumb enough to give her money, that's on them. It's like, it gets to a point where it's just like, listen, I can't be policing what adults are doing with their money. Like, I hate that people throw their money away, but it's like, listen, you do whatever you want to do. You want to give Alyssa Mercante money? That's fine. I don't care. I'm not giving her money.
You see, the reason I care about it is no one cared about Anita Sarkeesian, and she was able to screw our industry for more than 10 years.
True.
Right? These people have like cockroaches, these ways of wriggling into the community or into the industry and destroying the industry from the inside when no one gives a shit about it.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. A lot of the stuff that she did do ended up being like a net negative. So
yeah. So that's the only reason I care about it. Otherwise, if I genuinely knew that Alyssa Mercante was going to go away and no one would care anymore, I would just not even make videos about her because she's a desperately uninteresting person. But you never know, because the gaming industry just goes, wait, here's this person that everyone hates. We should absolutely listen to her about how to make video games. I say, well, you could try that. That's a very bold strategy. Let's see how this plays out. And I don't know but anyways, there's so many other stories that we could still cover, but some of these I think we can leave for next week. So we'll just I'll just rattle
off two real quick. Turns out Destiny 2 is having some issues. They are losing players at an alarming rate, which makes me very sad. I'm like, oh no, the poor people over at Bungie. I'm so sad. The game's not doing well. And usually what happens is whenever you have, it's a live service game, so obviously it's going to have its ups and downs. And one of the things you could say, well, they're probably going through a content drought. No. According to Paul Tassi, that is not the case. They've been steadily releasing content and like meaningful content, not like minor patches and stuff, like a bunch of content that they've been releasing. And people are just like, no, we're just done. Which it kind of feels like people finally woke up to the fact that, you know, the people running this game, they're not trustworthy. The game itself, as much as I love the gunplay, it's got the best gunplay in the business as far as I'm concerned. It's just their monetization is absolutely abhorrent, and they need to go the way of the dodo. So makes me very sad. Destiny's in trouble. Uh-oh, too bad. Don't care. As a matter of fact, I do care. I hope it continues trending downwards because that makes me happy. Okay. That restores my faith in humanity. Okay. And if you like Destiny 2, I'm sorry that your game is doing poorly. No, that I'm not. I really am not. I'm sorry, but I am actually not even sorry that your game. It's like I wish that you could be happy some other way. But I'm not sorry that your game's trending downwards. Like, I don't want to be a liar.
Desperately trying to be the bigger man.
I'm trying to be nice.
But what am I doing?
The reality is, I'm not really sorry. I'm not. Now, a game that I am sorry is Final Fantasy XIV. Final Fantasy XIV is apparently also trending downwards. It is reported that they're probably dipping below 1 million players right now, which really sucks because I absolutely love Final Fantasy XIV. But at the same time, I know exactly why it's happening. It is because the story of Dawn Trail is absolute dog shit. And I know that people are going to be like, Rurikon, you never even finished the story of Dawn Trail. It's like, yes, and that should tell you exactly how fucking bad it was because I played all of the other ones, okay? That should tell you exactly how bad it was. It is that bad. Yeah. And the people that have finished the story, they've told me it doesn't get much better than what... It gets a little bit better, but not much better than what you've experienced up until the point that you've played. So I understand why it's trending downwards, but it still hurts. It still hurts to see my man Yoshi P struggling because he's done fantastic work in the past, and I really hope they're able to, you know, pull it back together and rally. But the thing that I've noticed for me is that story was definitely the most important part of that game for me, and the moment that story didn't deliver, the gameplay wasn't able to keep up. And I know that there's really good battle content after you're done with the story, but I don't know, man. 14 needs that story for me. Without that story, I'm just not there for the rest.
Yeah, but you don't have to worry about that because soon, and I say very soon, it'll be illegal for you to say anything bad about Square Enix games.
Why?
Yeah. So Square Enix just updated their terms of service that basically says the company provides the following examples of customer harassment and socially unacceptable behavior that they reserve the right to sue you for. Acts of violence and violent behavior. We can all agree on that. Abusive language, intimidation, coercion, duress, excessive pursuit, or reprimand. So you can't even say this is a reprimand. I mean, the problem is that it's so
reprimand.
Yeah. Well, actually, it's excessive pursuit or reprimand. The problem is the vagueness with which it's written could literally mean anything.
What excessive is. Yeah.
What exactly do you mean? Defamation, slander, denial of a person's dignity, personal attacks, including email contact, in contact form, comment or post on the internet, advance notice of wrongdoing, advance notice of obstruction of business, persistent inquiries, repeated visits, trespassing by visiting, then unlawful restraint. Then they say discriminatory speech and conduct regarding race, ethnicity, religion, family origin, occupation, etc. Infringement of privacy by taking pictures or making video recordings without consent, sexual harassment, stalking, repeated stalking behavior. Now, again, the problem here would be making video recordings without consent. What does that mean? Do you mean any video recordings? So could it be someone that recorded themselves playing Final Fantasy XIV, now criticizing your game? Could you then say this was without our consent? Because technically speaking, and I should mention this, all YouTubers that use content from games are technically breaking copyright law. technically you're not allowed to stream video games. Technically. Under the law, a company can absolutely tell you, you're not allowed to stream our game, and they wouldn't be wrong. It is their property. You're not allowed to use it for yourself. They just don't because they know it's great advertising. But the way this is written is in such a way that how do you...
I feel like this is more
vague.
about real life stuff, like interactions.
Some of it is, but remember, they do say on the internet, right? So this is not just stuff in real life.
I think that's just something that they're covering all their bases. I don't know. I don't know. I need to read it with a fine-tooth comb, and we're like 3 hours into a discussion. My brain's like not even fully on.
The problem is,
point.
I'm not making a bold-faced claim here, right? So I'm not saying this is what they're doing. The problem is, so they're on Twitter, there's actual lawyers that's going through this that just say this is problematic. Because it basically gives them a very broad brush with which they can paint. And usually the problem is legally, this is probably allowed because there's so many companies out there that have these very vague things that they can sort of screw you over with. If you don't know what I'm talking about, make a claim at your local insurance company and find out how quickly don't have to pay for all sorts of things because there's vague little lines somewhere that says they don't have to pay for this, right? It's annoying that this is allowed. I don't know if it's going to be used nefariously, obviously, because it depends on how they want to use it. It's just interesting that they made the update. And it is sad with Final Fantasy XIV because I do think the last thing we need is, after getting so close to having World of Warcraft experience some competition, the competition shoots itself in the dick. Like, Yoshi P was primed to
You were the chosen one!
And now they're back down again. It's like, oh man, they just never get anywhere. But the Helldiver 2 Dave attack stuff we'll talk about next week because that's a big story. There's also a story, no one wants 100+ hour games. That's a huge story that we're going to be talking about next week.
File that for next week.
Yeah, and then we're also going to be talking about wokeness isn't gaming's biggest threat, which is actually one of the topics I want to bring up because there is something that we have to talk about there. And then I'll just very quickly say, so that you guys don't think we're holding out on you, Tencent is now classified by the US government as a Chinese military company.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
They've got their tentacles in a lot of American companies, this Chinese military company.
A lot of gaming companies.
Careful.
Which, right now, it doesn't mean anything. It's just a list that you go on and it just exists. The problem with those lists is it only doesn't do anything until the government decides now it does do something. And then you have problems. And you might say, well, I don't even like Tencent. This is fine. What you need to understand is Tencent owns a lot of shares in a lot of gaming companies. And if the way shares work is, let's say, for example, I own 20% of shares in your company. As long as I hold those, there's nothing wrong. If I sell 20% in one go, that can literally lead to bankruptcy because most companies don't have the kind of cash on hand to back that. Right, so it could be devastating if that were to happen. So we'll keep an eye on what happens there. There's been plenty of companies that got onto the list and then a couple of months later gets off the list because basically all the military or the Department of Defense requires is that you need to now go to them and prove that you're not a Chinese military contractor. That's basically usually what it is, but we'll see. I just needed to mention it, and that is all of the news. It's
a long one.
This is a very long one. If you've been watching to this point,
you are a
just
Chad.
leave us a comment.
Yes.
Yeah, you are an absolute giga Chad. Or a Chud, if you prefer that. We really appreciate you. Thank you so much for being here with us. Welcome back to the year of 2025. I'm sure it's going to be a hell of a year.
Oh, yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, as always, we will see you in the next one. Peace.